right, welcome to the Integrated Rehab Performance Podcast. Today, I'm with the Director of Golf at the Sanctuary Golf and Social Club, Sean Wells. Sean, thanks for coming on the podcast with me today. I really do appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so I met you at the Sanctuary when I stopped in, and then again during that workshop that I did there. And then just to say something quick about the Sanctuary, beautiful club, plenty of private bays there for hitting. And I have to say, without even getting into the social aspect, just checking out the club, seems like there was a lot put into just the how well the club looks, or kind of how almost like polished it is, right? And so with that being said,
Right.
the access to someone like you, the director of golf, right? Having a director of golf and operations and these different titles. Tell us a little bit more about how you got there to director of golf there at the Sanctuary, some of your background in golf growing up, and again, just how you got there at the Sanctuary.
Sure. Michael Shin is one of the two guys that got the sanctuary started. I've known Michael for about 20 years. In fact, he worked for me back when he was in college for a year or two. Called me up and told me about this idea. And quite honestly, the first time I talked to him, I said, "Good luck."
I see.
I didn't really know how this was going to go. And I've always considered myself a golf pro's pro. So like a dog chasing cars,
Sure.
Being indoors and this whole virtual thing hadn't really exploded yet at the time, and it just really wasn't in my eyesight. Michael, pretty persistent, continued after me, and finally I sat down and talked to him about it, and he twisted my arm a little bit, and next thing I said, I evaluated everything I had going on in life and said, all right, now's the time to make it go, let's go. And it's been a lot of fun trying to start something that's brand new. It's basically a startup, but with people that and trying to make something out of something that was nothing before that is what the exciting challenge is. Yeah. So I'm glad to be here. And of course, now I'm the guy going, hey, if we're going to expand, it's time to expand.
That's
Let's
right.
go. This thing's happening. Let's go. So, I've completely flipped, and it is a lot of fun, and we do have a great membership here.
Awesome.
Yeah. I run the golf operation just like I would at the clubs. I was a director of golf at Temple Hills Country Club for 5 years before I came here, and I ran outings at Gaylord Springs for about 4 years before I went to Temple Hills. So I've been in the business a long time here in Middle Tennessee. Those are my most recent clubs that I was at, and I like to do everything that we did outside, inside. Now we have to learn to do it in different ways and different times of days, and that's the creative and fun part about it. But as much as the club has such a great social feel, and we do a great combination of golf events and purely social events and social events with golf events, et cetera, I'm here to make sure that golf is in the forefront of it all. And it is a lot of fun.
Very good. So yeah, you've had plenty of experience here in the Nashville area. What was your background in college and before then with golf? Something that you took very seriously your whole life, or is this something that was later on where you kind of fell in love with it a little bit more? What was the story there?
Well, I'll tell you. In high school, in fact, I traveled with my dad so I could start high school in time. We were moving from Knoxville, and we weren't going to move till like October. So I just would travel with my dad Monday and Friday back and forth. Anyway, and when he was building a house, and it was at Nashboro Golf Club in Nashville. And this is back in the 80s, date myself here. And that was a happening place back then for sure. But anyway, I was a baseball player, and I was kind of small, and I had gone to McGavock High School here in Nashville, Tennessee, and McGavock had a spectacular baseball program. And anyway, I didn't make it. I was famously known to be the last guy cut both my freshman and my sophomore seasons. And so I was basically done with baseball, and golf was now in my backyard. I lived on the 17th hole right off the tee box at Nashboro. And I got clubs when I was 15 years old, and the first spring day, it was super nice. Me and a couple buddies just went out there and didn't know any better amongst the millions of other players, And the pro kindly told us, hey, you can't do this. Check in the pro shop, et cetera, et
Wow.
cetera. I'm sure there's 1,000 of those stories out
Yeah.
there in the world. Later that afternoon, we were doing the same thing. So he just took our clubs and made us do some work for like wash carts for free golf. We worked
Wow.
out a
Yeah.
great thing, and I've been in the golf business ever
That's awesome.
since.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
lucked out there that things were different back then, I suppose. Simpler times,
right.
but very good. So
Yeah.
you kind of piggybacked from one to the other. You were at Gaylord and then Temple, and now you're here at the Sanctuary, making things, run efficiently and effectively. You're still doing? Are you still teaching lessons? And for how long have you been doing lessons, private lessons with members?
Well, I went to school I went to the Austin P for a few years. I was one of those young, dumb college kids. I knew I wanted to be a golf professional. Probably didn't know why I needed college. I don't know, but I was pretty immature. And anyway, found the Golf Academies of America, which are now closed up. But anyway, I got a 16 months. I got a specialized associate's degree, and I've been in the golf business since I was
Wow.
92. Um, and so I've been teaching in some capacity ever since. I have always led more towards the golf operations and management side, with teaching
Right.
on the side. So I've never been a full time teacher. Just that was my job for an entire day or week or years at a
Mm-hmm.
time. I have always been more in the golf operations and been available to teach when the members need it. Now, at the sanctuary, our model is rare. Being a fully private club, you don't see that much. You see a lot of indoor places that look for revenues in teaching and fitting, and others that are semi private. And so the point of that is the fact that to protect our model, I don't really push
Right.
teaching as much. Again, I'm there to run the golf side of it, and if a member needs a lesson, I'm more than happy to give it. I have a couple more professionals on our staff. Doyle and Rich do a good job of teaching too, but I bet in a week's time between we may do two, three, or four, or five
Yeah.
lessons in a week each. So we may give around 15 to 20 lessons in a week between
Yeah.
the three of us, at the most probably. Again, even in the wintertime when it's especially busy, because we just don't have a driving range where we can just find a
Sure.
plot of land that's available. We need an open room. So that's we again another reason to kind of protect our model. We don't just hog one suite, especially in the busiest time. So that's the first
Right.
thing we look at when somebody asks for a lesson within a week at least, is to make sure there's a
Yeah.
room
Fair enough.
available. Yeah.
I see. So when it comes to giving lessons, now this is exclusive to. It would have to be only be members then, right?
Uh, Rich and Doyle are both from out of town, so I'm sure they've met some people. But being that I've been from Nashville and have people that I've worked with in
Mm,
the past, I'll get those phone
sure.
calls. I try to be a little bit smarter about it and really kind of hold them. I won't do any outside teaching, say mid-October through middle of April
Yeah.
at
Gotcha.
least for sure. Once the summer dies down, or the summer will slow down a little bit inside the sanctuary, so that frees me up to give some outside lessons on occasion without going
Yeah,
crazy.
I see. When I was there, it did not look like things were slowing down. You guys had a packed house.
No,
Um,
it was a
so
busy day.
I have to say, from when you've started giving lessons, now I know now you're more in running on the back end of the sanctuary and on the golf events and maybe some of the social events, but primarily golf events. What have you seen on the instruction side still from when you started giving lessons to now? To what were you working on mostly back then, if you could pick something, and what are you working mostly on now, if you had to have a generic client where it's almost all the time you're working on the same thing, if that exists? Have they changed over the years, and what were they?
It does exist. I just finished a lesson just like that. Um, the one thing that's different, especially for me in the sanctuary, is TrackMan. The technology and the data that it provides
Right.
is out of this world, and there's still so much that I can learn to use for teaching that TrackMan provides. My teaching philosophy is more of an athletic move. I'm big on
Yeah.
weight transfer. I can walk down any range tee and just watch flat-footed swingers, and it drives
Sure.
me mad. And I try to get people moving, rotating to their right on their backswing to get their weight a little bit more on that side, so that they can deliver a forward motion through the ball, and and finish in a position where most of their weight's on their left side. I'll show them Tom Brady throwing a football, and he starts on his right foot and steps, and the throw's actually off his left foot. Tennis players almost kind of go sideways nowadays, but a lot of times they have that same kind of motion. I mean, heck, a baseball pitcher on the mound is going to be on his right foot, right-handed,
Mm.
of course, but on their right foot, and then pitching once their left foot hits the ground, they're pitching off that foot. So I try to use those examples in my teaching. Um, I like the fact that, especially the club path and the face angle that
Mm.
TrackMan will show you, is very helpful, especially in connecting the dots and why directionally somebody may be challenged. But I like the TrackMan in that you can show the immediate data to the student on why their ball may be curving one direction or another. I find that to be pretty valuable. Another reason too, the lesson that I just finished up with, we were comparing the length. She was hitting a couple different clubs. They were very
Mm.
similar. TrackMan has the ability to show where the ball was struck onto the club face, and obviously that's probably the number one reason why you would hit a ball short
Right.
or far is how well you struck it. And yet she was hitting a shorter club better than she was hitting, or even longer, because she's able to control a little better.
Yep.
So therefore, her impact on the club was better, and so that's pretty valuable information that TrackMan shows
Definitely.
as
No, I'm
well.
very familiar with that. Um, so right now, if you had to pick one thing, and maybe you can't, maybe you always have to look at things in context, but if there's one metric that's being shown to you from TrackMan that you have there at Sanctuary, and your members are going and hitting balls and practicing, if they had to look at one number, what number or stat would it be that the TrackMan's going to tell you? Is it club face?
Okay. For one answer, I'd have to say an or. I think it's either the path or
Sure.
the face. I look for the consistent one and try to work
Yeah.
off that. So if they're consistently putting their face in a similar position and their paths all over the place, then we're really going to work on path. But usually it's the
Right.
face that's open or closed more often, and their path is consistent, at least in some degree, especially from a direction, whether the path is going to the left or to the
Yep,
right.
gotcha. And those are those ball flight rules where it's now really being appreciated, especially because of TrackMan, at how much club face has to play and where that ball and what it does, right? 90% club
That's
face,
right.
10% path, whatever it might be. Um, Now, before you had TrackMan, what was kind of your philosophy? You had mentioned was athletic, right? You're trying to get people rotating better, weight shifting better. Before you had the data to show and help you understand outcomes, what was one thing that you were working on before you had that you didn't need the TrackMan to tell you things were moving well? Was it kind of the eyeball test? You could see the weight transfer. Was it just by looking at the ball flight? Kind of how did you go about that?
Yeah, it was the eyeball test. I mean, again, kind of old school guy, especially without the technology. I'm a big believer that the finish tells you a whole
Wow.
story. How somebody finishes tells me a lot about how what kind of position they were in at impact. I know, and it's hard to do this with adults, but especially back in the junior camp days, that was day one. Was show me the bottom of your shoe was
Right.
very important to me to get them used to turning and being able to see for a right-handed player to be able to see the bottom of their right shoe meant that they were swinging through to their
Right. Yeah.
left side. So yeah, I mean, and if somebody has trouble with that, then there's a pretty good chance they were at a funny angle or standing a little too tall, at impact. And the one thing that I believe too is like a top shot. Most people just think immediately that they stood up. And I'll argue that 9 out of 10 top shots are just because they had too much weight on their back foot, and then that caused them to swing over or increasingly
Right.
higher towards the ball, catching the top
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah. Well
Yeah.
said. And in terms of the big miss, back in the 90s and the early 2000s, was everyone slicing it? And are we still slicing it? Or what was the big thing that you're working on back then as well as now, and just in terms of shot outcome?
Yes, slices were big back then, and they're just as big now. I think it is harder for people, especially newer players. That's always going to be the common miss, is one that curves to the slice direction, and a lot of it's because, and with longer clubs too, the faster they swing, the harder time they're going to have to release the club to get the club face
Yes.
square, or at least in the position that they need. And even take a big old strong guy, if he's overly aggressive, he's going to be overly aggressive with his upper body,
Right.
and that's going to cause a big left path, and then it makes it even harder because he's swinging as
Mm-hmm.
fast as he can. It makes it even harder for him to get the club face where he needs, and so it's often left open. And now you have a path going well to the left and a face that's pointed well to the right, and that ball is
Yeah, it's gone.
out of here.
I've experienced that.
Right?
Um, Now,
Yeah.
in terms of pain, so your big thing, which I love, is you're trying to work so much on the athleticism, being able to actually rotate into that backswing, the weight transfer, probably getting the weight transfer a little bit earlier. These are things that, from my perspective, from the physical point of view, right, working on the body, working on the golfers, pain and their tolerance for motion, but also can we take these functional changes we're making and turn them into golf specific improvements. So I work a ton on getting them to feel this weight shift after working on the specifics that are necessary to make that happen. A big one, being able to rotate in the backswing, is having hip internal rotation to make sure that they can actually coil into that right hip and turn into that right hip. And if they can't, then it's just compensation, right? It's coming from somewhere else, and you'll definitely see that if they're turning to the right, but they're not, but their weight isn't going towards the right. It's a big sign that they can't actually turn into that right hip, and they're kind of lying to you. So, big part of what I do is, I'd say the weight shift is almost number one, is getting them to be able to do these physical things. And then when they go and work with someone like yourself, they at least have the physical capacity to do it. And then you have the really hard job of trying to get the timing and everything down, and get them to actually feel what it's like to do it quickly, during the swing. Now, from your history, what have you noticed in terms of mobility restrictions? If you picked up on a couple of things over the years, what are some things that are really holding people back on the physical side? Is there something associated directly with that slice that's maybe not just a timing thing, though surely most of it is? That's actually a mobility thing or anything like that.
um, Yeah, you'll see some of it, especially in my line of work. I'm teaching people of all
Mm-hmm.
ages. Uh, I try to make sure they're at least over the mental fear, because I feel like they're not shifting their weight because it's safer
Yeah,
to just not move that much, and they feel like they're going to hit it better but or at least in a better spot on the club face if they don't move as much. But obviously, as people get older, yes, they are going to be less restricted. Just to use that lesson I just got out of earlier, we talked about how I let her kind of straighten up her right leg a little bit on her backswing to allow her right hip to move a little
mm-hmm.
bit more, to give her a little bit of room. I'm not that big on teaching hips. Um, I try to keep the hips out of it. I feel like not out of it, not like out of the golf swing, but I'm more of a believer in that the hips are
Mm.
followers. If the upper body's moving, if your left shoulder's turning one direction, it's gonna start to pull your hip a little bit. But yes, we still need it to turn to ideally, say, a 45-degree angle. And that's going to be tough on most people. And we try to use a little bit of um, more of a maybe a an elevation change, like get their hands a little bit higher on their backswing to overcome if they
Mm.
can't turn as
Right.
well with that. And like I was saying about showing the shoe for the kids in junior golf, I understand that, again, with the restricted mobility, that not everybody's able to do that, but I believe that they can still get most of their chest turning, whether their foot comes with it or not. So that's another big issue. They may have to sacrifice a little bit of
Sure.
distance for it, but as long as they continue to turn their chest to the target at their finish, they'll be able to
Yeah, well
play.
said. Now, pain. What's the most common site of pain and discomfort that you've noticed?
The
Classic low
back, the
back.
lower
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
Have you noticed that that's resulted in any specific swing characteristic, or no, too variable, too much going on?
Yeah, no, I'd say it could be for
Yeah.
any reason. I know personally, I've been as I've been in the sanctuary, I've actually hit more
Right.
balls than I
Yeah.
used to, you know, because I can kind of do it on a daily basis without taking a lot of time to do so even. And I found that hitting off the ground and hitting more shots for me has been like my oblique back here on the right side has been a little bit of a sore issue for me. And the one thing I've had to try to do is just be careful of uh, maybe playing at 9 a.m. and then trying to go back at 9 at night. That's not
Yep.
probably not a good idea. And I don't really like rain delays anymore either. Once I get warmed up, I'm ready to go. I don't want to have to go back in there cold. So those are little things though, and I'm not really. I've been trying to do some homework to see maybe why that's the thing, but that's just me
Yeah,
personally.
yeah, fair enough. Definitely low back pain, and I've heard the same from other pros. It's just the biggest thing in golf is going to be that low back pain flaring up through the swing. And you had mentioned hitting more, and you're talking about maybe your flank or low back on the right side or into the oblique there. Um, Very common, especially when we're hitting indoors more, is the elbows. So that's where that golfer's elbow really comes into play, and tennis elbow,
Hmm.
even in golfers. It's just a different tendon essentially that's getting injured there, and wrist pain. So these tend to be the common indoor things when you're just hitting more than usual, and also hitting off something that's a little bit more firm, the ground with the cement and
Mats.
everything.
Yeah.
So another big thing to avoid to do is to ramp up and probably not play first thing in the morning and then last thing at night. Uh, but I can't blame you at all if I was in that same situation. I'd play. I'd swing the club every chance I got as well. So I really can't blame you
Right.
there. Now, again, the sanctuary being so unique in what it's doing, what have you done to combine this golf aspect with the social aspect? What does that kind of look like specifically with the sanctuary?
Well, one, we it was really important to us to kind of
Yeah.
build community. That's what myself and my golf staff. That was our major goal was to help build community. And for one of the obvious reasons is really we prefer not to have 8 suites with just one person in it each. We'd like for the guys to call each other up and have suites with two, three, or four people instead. So building community was very important. We do a few events on the monthly, like on every Thursday or every month on a Thursday night. We do uh, a pro member. So we'll get 24 members. My golf staff, Michael Shin, the COO of the club, is a really good player. And then we'll get some local pros to join in too. Andrew Kincaid is a
Oh
teacher
yeah.
out at Brentwood. He'll come in and join us. We had 3 guys from out at West Haven last week
Cool.
come and join us. Anyway, it's nice for the members to meet Lance Vinson, the TrackMan rep,
Wow.
tour rep, when he's in town. He'll come join us. And we just play a 9-hole scramble. We do it where the pros and the A's are kind of joined together by handicap, and then we draw a B player and a C player, and we'll play 9 holes. And by 9 o'clock, we're done, but we're not really done because half or more stay for E9, and sometimes even half of them will stay for another E9.
Yep.
But that's been really good. And then another Thursday night, we do what we call Thursday night 3 ball, where me and my two professionals play a best ball format, and the members will make 3-person teams too, and try to
Wow.
beat
Okay.
us. So that's been a fun game too, because we'll do a 1 net score on par fives, 2 on par 4s, and all 3 on par 3s. So that's been and we just play gross, and they get to use their handicap to try to beat us. So those couple things that we do regularly have been pretty valuable to building the community. This Friday night is a perfect example. We're doing a couples night where it's just specifically, in fact, all suites are closed, and we have about 23 couples signed up. And it'll be a nice chance for ladies to meet ladies, guys to meet guys, but couples to meet couples
Right.
too. So there's going to be some golf involved and some, like a little happy hour social situation, all wrapped
Yeah.
into one. So we try to do something like that on the monthly basis as well. We just did our member guest a couple of weeks ago. It's hard to be more
Right.
social than that. We do ours all in one day. We'll do it on Masters
Oh, cool.
Friday every year, and the guys will play 3 sets of 9-hole matches in their flight, and we do a shootout just like most clubs do at the end of their
Hmm.
member guest. It's just all
Yeah,
under one roof, and probably started at 8 in the morning, and we finished about 6:30 that night.
that's
So
a
it
good
was
day.
a maybe even later. It was probably 7 o'clock actually. Yeah, so it was a big full day, and the boys ate and
Yeah,
drank
well, good
pretty
for
well.
them. That's perfect. I didn't know you did so
Yeah.
many, and you're getting so creative with the different games that you guys will play, and kind of really take advantage of that indoor and the tracking technology. Um, yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun to me. I love that idea.
The we host, in my opinion, whether I've played in it, and I love running tournaments just as much as I love
Hmm.
playing in them. But we host the most fun, and it's called the Kumite. And for our Kumite Invitational, because we do also one for the members, but we get pros from that travel. We've had Tour Canada players. We get state open champions, state
Wow.
amateur champions. We get some of the best club pros around the state. We had about 50 players this year, and they'll come in on one day for a stroke play, and we rank them all, and then the next day we play a match play tournament all
Wow.
in one day. So it's set up like a basketball bracket, and the winners stay and play another match, and the losers go home until there's just two guys left standing, and one guy actually gets a samurai
Really?
katana as a trophy. Yeah, it goes
Wow.
to the winner.
How long have you been doing that?
But it's like it. We've done
Wow.
4 of those now. Yeah, yeah, and it is so fun, and it's so fast and furious indoors because obviously you don't
Right.
have to look for balls and drive down to get. I mean, the matches go pretty quick. We do once we get to the round of 32, we have one more 9-hole match, and then the Sweet 16 and beyond are all
Wow.
18-hole matches. So the winner ended up playing probably 4.5 to 5 uh, rounds of golf all in
Wow.
one
And these
day.
these are all
Yeah, until there's one.
people that are like other professionals in the area, but also you talk about Canadian tour players
Mm-hmm.
and just people from all over.
Yeah, the winner from this year came from
Wow.
Arkansas. The winner from last year came from Ohio. Nolan Ray, who's won both the State Open and State Am, he's a PGA Tour Canada player. He's from Nashville. He won, and then Michael, our CO,
Oh
won the
wow.
very first one. And what's cool about that first one, I'll never knock it for him winning it. We had
Heck,
six
dude.
people, and if you think back to the first ever U.S. Open and look at the field of the size of that field versus the size of the field now, and all the qualifiers that are involved, it's all
Still
part of
counts.
growth. So congratulations even to him. Yes, it
Yeah, that's
absolutely
awesome.
does. But every year it's been
How do you
so
get in
much
touch with
fun.
these
Yeah.
people? Do they find you?
Uh, word of mouth helps. Yes, we and especially as the tournament's going on, obviously we've had some growth, and those who have played it and have such as much or has had as much fun as I'm describing it, so they'll tell their friends. And I think it won't be long that we'll have at least 64 player field, and if not more, we'll just do qualifiers and
I
have
see.
cuts that don't get you into
I see.
match play. Yeah, before too long. And I feel like the growth will be so good that guys like me will end up just not playing because the fields will be so
Right.
strong with road studs. But we'll see how
Yeah,
long
I was
that
going to
takes.
ask, what do I have to do to get, to get invited? But now you're talking about qualifiers.
I'll
I don't
put you
think
on the
I'll make it
list.
at this point. But I'll keep practicing. That'll be the goal on any given season, is to qualify for that tournament there. Uh, no
It's so
doubt. You have to
fun.
get blades involved. Are you allowed to be playing in the PGA?
Yes, we are a little cocky here, so we're not afraid. We may get run over by blades, but we ain't
Sure.
afraid to let them play.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that'd be a good time. Maybe wait till he's 21 though, so you can really
Right.
enjoy the experience. Yeah.
Good point.
Well,
Good
awesome,
point.
Sean. Before I let you go here, I want to learn real quick. Who was your golf idol growing up? Who was the guy once you started sneaking onto the course that you started to watch on TV as well?
Curtis Strange was my very first
Curtis
one.
Strange.
Uh, yep. Uh, Although I've watched it so much, I have all the lines memorized. I think the '86 Masters is
Wow.
the greatest golf show ever. From the players in the field to the commentary to the leaderboard was just crazy and it was packed with talent. I remember when Jack made that yes sir putt on 17. I was on number 2 tee playing by myself, and I just heard the clubhouse
Oh,
erupt.
wow.
I had no interest in watching golf. I was just months into
Mhm.
playing by then, and probably the first tournament I ever watched was Curtis Strange beat Nick Faldo in a playoff in '89 at the Country Club at Brookline to win the U.S. Open, and that was probably the first tournament I watched. So Curtis was my man until Tiger rolled
Gotcha. Yeah,
around.
fair enough. Rest is history. Well, I like it. And then
Yep.
what's the hardest hole here in Nashville?
Um, well, two come to mind. I know one is famously hard, number one at Nashville Golf and Athletic,
Hmm.
especially as a
Right.
starting hole, but I think anywhere on any course it's very hard. But I also think 17 at the Governor's Club, the par three down the hill with the creek runs around the front and
I
down the
see.
left hand side, especially from those back tees. Boy, that's a monster
Gotcha.
hole.
I think that was the first I've heard that one. Yeah,
Um,
but I've definitely heard NJC's first hole, and I got a buddy who's playing there right now, who's always telling me about it too. So, yeah, that's a hard
right,
couple holes there starting off at NJC. Now you guys can play
100%.
these clubs at the sanctuary, correct? Can you play these?
No, 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 no. But we do
A
have
few of
some
them.
local clubs. We have Richland, Hillwood, and Troubadour. We also have Sweetens Cove down in Chattanooga, and we have Old Stone up in
Cool.
Bowling Green. But those are the ones locally. We do have over 400 golf courses worldwide, and probably half of those are, probably a little more than half are overseas. But we have great golf courses like Pebble Beach and Muirfield Village and
Wow.
Firestone, and rumor has it we may have Oakmont by the time the U.S. Open rolls around, and that'll
Very
be
cool.
pretty exciting.
Yeah, interesting how that
Yeah.
works. Where you can just download a new club or something like that. Uh, yeah, that's today's day and age.
I enjoy playing around the world. I enjoy playing around the United States because you still get a feel of how different the golf is. TrackMan is
Yeah,
so fantastic. I mean, it gets better every day. But you really still get a sense of what golf is like up in the Northeast, where I prefer to go, versus California or Texas or over in Michigan. Michigan has great golf. And then you see it over in Japan and, of course, the Scottish courses. I mean, it's just everything has a little bit of their own flavor to it. It's
yeah,
pretty awesome.
yeah. That's awesome, and you guys are
Yeah.
really taking advantage of that. I think you're doing a great job. It all sounds so much fun over there.
Yeah.
Uh, well, Sean,
It
thanks for
is.
taking the time. I really do appreciate it. We'll get this up, here in the next couple, probably the next week, and your members can check you out and learn a little bit more about you and everything that you're doing there at the sanctuary. Real quick, are you guys at capacity there yet?
No, we're not. We still have some memberships
Perfect.
available. We have corporate memberships, and we started a young executive membership a few
Interesting.
months ago.
Okay, very cool. Well, then I'll definitely put the word
Yeah.
out about all that as well. What's the best way to get in touch with you? Is there a social media account that you like, or the website, Sanctuary website work, or what's the best way?
The Sanctuary Golf and Social Club.com or golfandsocialclub.com. Yes. And then, yes, we can be found on Instagram at the Sanctuary Golf and
Gotcha.
Social.
And I'll make sure that those are put in the description for the YouTube and the Spotify versions of the podcast so people can check you out. Well, very good.
Awesome.
Again, I
Awesome.
appreciate it. We'll do a part two sometime later in the fall after these tournaments, and we can see who the winner is of 2025. And I'll be looking forward to that. So thanks again, Sean.
Sounds good. Yes, you're welcome. I enjoyed it.